Imagine selling an imaginary airport for $242 million. How can one even begin to imagine something like that? Many of us receive spam emails frequently, but today's story is different from Hush Puppy, the email guy. You can check our channel to know more about Hush Puppy versus FBI, the world's flashiest scammer. Before we continue, kindly give this video a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. There have been many frauds in history, but selling an airport to an international client without physical sightseeing for verification and legitimacy of the deal is rather bizarre. Emmanuel Odinigwe, famously known as Owele of Opagana, pulled one of the greatest fraud in banking history. His scam is the third largest in banking history in the world. Owode is regarded as one of the smartest criminals in history. The banking fraud's a step ahead of Owode's stunt at the looting of the Iraq Central Bank by QC Houston and Nicholassen's trading losses at Barings Bank. Emmanuel Owode's top-notch fraud of $242 million. Nelson Sakaguchi, the director of Brazil's Banco Nuret, based in Sao Paulo, was the victim of Owode's gimmicks. To perpetrate this huge crime, Owode needed to appear in the robe of an influential Nigerian man. The easiest personality he could wear at that time was that of Paul Ogwuma, then governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. This personality was easy for Owode to wear because he was the director of Union Bank of Nigeria at that time. So mirroring the personality of any banker would come in a handful for Owode. Aside from wearing Paul Ogwuma's personality, Owode needed other accomplices to facilitate the fraud. So he employed the expertise of Emmanuel Ofolwe, Onzeribe Okoli, and Obim Osakwe, along with the husband and wife duo, Christine Ukechukwu and Ajemba and Amaka and Ajemba, for the smooth execution of the operation. Appearing in the figure of Paul Ogwuma, Owode convinced Sakaguchi to invest in a new airport in the nation's capital, Abuja, in exchange for a 10 million naira commission. The total deal was $242 million deal, with $191 million in cash and the remainder in the form of an outstanding interest between 1995 and 1998. Sakaguchi fell for the bait, costing Banco Nuret a huge loss. How was Owode's fraud exposed? In 1997, Santander, a Spanish multinational financial service company, moved to take over Banco Nuret Brazil. While at the joint meeting to facilitate the takeover, a large vacuum was uncovered. The vacuum looked so massive that it was given a proper look. It was uncovered that a huge sum of funds was laying fallow in the Simon Island untouched. This fund is about 2/5 of the bank's total value and half of its capital. This led to the setup of a criminal investigation team in the countries where the individuals involved are resident. The countries are Brazil, Britain, Nigeria, Switzerland, and the United States. The newly commissioned anti-graft agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, hunted Owode in Nigeria. Nelson Sakaguchi was arrested at New York's John F. Kennedy Airport and offloaded to and departed to Switzerland to stand trial on charges relating to setting up bank accounts there as part of the fraud. But to buffer the situation as damage control, the Simeon and Cochrane families who owned the Banco Nuret paid the $242 million. One would think that this should be enough to save the situation, but the bank collapsed in 2001. Owode's trial. At the request of the former Nigerian president, Olusegun Obasanjo, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission was created by the Nigerian Parliament in 2002. In 2004, Owode and his accomplice were arrested by the EFCC and charged 86 counts, ranging from bribery and fraudulently seeking advance fees at the Abuja High Court. They all pleaded not guilty to the charges. However, the judge, Lawal Gumi, alleged that there was an attempt to bribe court staff. Years later, the case was thrown out by Gumi, who stated that the crime wasn't committed in Abuja as the offense was committed in Lagos, miles away from his jurisdiction. Owode and his cohort were arrested outside the courthouse and taken to Lagos. This case was one of the major cases of the EFCC after it was constituted. The then chairman of the agency, Nuju Ribadu, alleged that Nwudi tried to bribe him with $75,000 cash. These further made the case complicated for Nwudi as charges of attempted bribery and the attempted kidnapping of a prostitution witness added to his existing case. One of Nwudi's court, Amaka Najemba, attempted to the crime and was sent to 2.5 years in prison and ordered to repay $25.5 million. Later, Emmanuel and one of his accomplices, Unzeribe Okoli, pleaded guilty to the offense after testimony from Zakaguchi. He was then collectively sentenced to 29 years in prison, with Nwudi receiving 5 concurrent sentences of 5 years, totaling 25, and Okoli receiving 4. This was accompanied by the confiscation of all of Nwudi's assets. It was returned to the victim. Nwudi was released in 2006. The aftermath. In 2006, Nwudi filed a lawsuit to recover his assets after he was released from prison, stating that some of his assets were acquired before he committed the offense. He was, however, able to recover $52 million of it in a court hearing of the case in 2001. Nwudi reportedly stated that he didn't know about the $242 million airport scam. He said he was convinced by his legal team led by Dr. Charles Uche San when he was in prison to make a plea bargain arrangement with EFCC. In his words, Nwudi said, "I told him that I am not responsible for the $242 million, that I am not responsible for this money. I don't know anything about it. The EFCC should check all my remittances that came through my account. Though I have my friend, late Christian Anajimba's husband of Amaka, is co-defendant, various bank accounts. As money came into my account, I gave it to one of my Indian friends, Mr. Naresh Asnani, who has contact with the Swift Bank, who in turn does the exchange for me."